Don't fuck up. Don't fuck yourselves. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rude Cooking School podcast. I'm your host, John Hauser III. And I don't know about you, but every now and then I start getting cravings. And, you know, whether it be like subliminal advertising or you just see things or things keep popping up. And that's what this episode is about. For the last week, I've been like, damn, there's a lot of weird peanut butter and jelly things going on. And then I had a conversation with a friend of mine who we got our signals crossed up. And I thought he was telling me he had never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich made out of grape jelly. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, do you just use strawberry? And he was just talking about something else because he was having he took the pictures of these Reese cups that have peanut butter and jelly in them now, which I'm very intrigued because I'm like, look, I'll admit it. I've dipped Reese cups into jelly before and it was pretty fucking good. So, but it was just like another one of those things. And I was like, well, you know what? Let's make the episode about peanut butter and jelly. And then as I was researching and putting stuff together, I realized that yesterday, April the 2nd, is peanut butter and jelly day. So I was like, that's why those motherfuckers got me. They got me with the advertising. They got me with the viral, things just seep into stuff. And people get paid to advertise for these things. I don't get it. Dude, send me some money. I'll talk about peanut butter and jelly. I am talking about peanut butter and jelly. But let's get into it. It's okay. I'm American. It's not big overseas. One thing I always watch a lot of videos about English people eating American food, and they always bring up oh God, is there peanut butter in it? It's like fucking the Americans put peanut butter in everything, and I'm like, we really don't. But in our sandwiches we do. But it's really just peanut butter and jelly, or a peanut butter and banana, or a peanut butter and honey. Like, what else? Maybe in smoothies and shit we put peanut butter in. But growing up as an American child, I ate 8 zillion of them. I'm a classic grape jelly kid. I don't mind other ones, but I think just Concord grape has that tartness and the sweetness together that kind of offset each other and work really well with that just kind of homey, brown, ground, dirty peanut butter flavor. I'm also not a natural peanut butter person. I hate that shit. There's 2 things in our house that me and Leanna call junk for each other. I call her junk peanut butter. She calls mine junk peanut butter. And she calls my lettuce, which is iceberg lettuce, junk lettuce. And I call her lettuce, which is like spring mix junk lettuce. So, it's a joke. We have our little jokes here. But I like extra chunky peanut butter, and I didn't start liking that until I was an adult, which is a completely weird thing and kind of made me search my soul for a few days when I realized I liked it better than smooth peanut butter. And I always have a jar of peanut butter in my desk at work. Right now, it is accompanied by dates and Wassa crackers. Wassa crackers are always big with me. Wassa crackers and peanut butter are a great snack. Throw a couple dates on top. It's delicious. Sometimes I do jelly if I have it around. Sometimes I just put some hot sauce on top. Any hot sauce is really good with peanut butter, which is weird. It just depends on if I want sweet or savory, kind of. I know I sound like a maniac, but I'm going somewhere. Anyway, going back to the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it's just good to have as a snack and relatively healthy for you from what I've been reading. And I'm, again, think of the sources. A lot of the things I'm going to be reading today are from the National Peanut Board, just peanut board, not peanut butter board. A peanut butter board would be really fun to slide down, get all slippery, and it'd probably stop you though. Peanut butter's pretty thick. That's a weird thought. Anyway, Yeah, I love peanut butter and jelly. I don't really go for anything fancier. I do a peanut butter and honey on a Wassa cracker because that's just really good. I don't really enjoy peanut butter and honey on bread, which is odd. I guess because the honey soaks into the bread and I don't like it. Our son, he never really ate peanut butter and jellies that much. He ate peanut butter and honey sandwiches. Like, he loved them. I was never a huge fan of them. And even now, like, if I'm at home, you just need something. You're about, you know, you have a list of things you got to go. It's like a Saturday. You didn't eat breakfast and you're just about to run out. And you're like, I know I'm going to be hungry. I know I'm going to be at the, store buying food. And that's always a bad idea because you always wind up buying like 8,000, items more because you're hungry. And, just a half a piece of bread or just a piece of bread that you fold in half, peanut butter jelly, boom. It's a really good, just out the door, snack to just tide you over for an hour or two, until you get home. So, yeah, it's one of America's favorite things to eat. There's some fun facts at the end of this, but let's get into the history of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The Earl of Sandwich is credited with inventing the sandwich because he wanted to eat his meal with one hand during a 24-hour gambling event and instructed his servant to put his meat between two slices of bread. I'm not going to say anything dirty about him putting his meat between two slices of bread. But what many may not know is how an American classic sandwich, the iconic peanut butter and jelly sandwich, came to be. If the Earl of Sandwich invented this sandwich, who invented the PB&J? The story begins with the three essential parts of the PB&J: peanut butter, jelly, and bread. First, let's talk about the bread, which is, of course, an ancient food that has been around for tens of thousands of years. The significance of the bread component in the PB&J sandwich is the invention of pre-sliced bread in the early 1900s. Otto Friedrich Rohrwacher invented a bread slicer, but bakers were not interested because they didn't think anybody would want their pre-sliced bread. Like, they didn't think back then it was like bread. It's not like sandwich bread that we think of today. It was like, hard, crusty, delicious, homemade, baker-made bread. And people, that bread dried out really quick. So nobody thought that they would want their bread pre-sliced. But Rohrwacher kept defining and refining his invention and changing things until it was ready to be used in bakeries. He had advertised the machine as the greatest step forward in baking since bread was wrapped, end quote. And then that slogan evolved into the thing people still say today, which is, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Because, think about it. When you make bread at home and you got to slice it for sandwiches, it's a pain in the ass. Like, it's really hard to get straight. Even if you have one of those like sandwich slicer bread things that it measures it out, it's still hard to get it perfectly straight down, have a nice even width all the way through. I can't imagine, we've all grown up with sliced bread. Like, it's a thing. Like, the first bread you probably ever had was a piece of pre-sliced bread. Think about that, right? Like, it's built in. But at the time, people were probably like, oh my God, I don't have to waste tens of minutes a day slicing bread. It's a pain in the ass. It's not something you can, it's not like slicing an onion where you can just like chop, 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 chop. You can't really do it. It takes concentration and precision. Not that slicing an onion doesn't, but you get used to slicing an onion. It goes quickly. Slicing bread, you still got to be careful. But sliced bread proliferated, and then soon people were looking for spreads to use on this newfound wonder. So let's talk jelly, which is another food that's been around for a long time. In the case of the quintessential American PB&J sandwich, the most important person in this part of the story is a man named Paul Welsh. In 1970, Welch secured a patent for pureeing grapes and then turning them into jelly. He developed and advertised grapelade, rhymes with like marmalade. Grapelade. Grapelade. Such a son of motherfucker. From Concord grapes. This was popular with American troops in World War I. When the soldiers came home after war, it was a popular spread, and they all wanted grapelade on their bread. Thankfully, this is the last time I will say grapelade. Peanuts were first grown in South America and were being ground in the 16th century. Garcilaso de la Vega noted that, quote, with honey, the peanut makes an excellent marzipan, end quote. I mean, grinding the two of them together probably is pretty great for a spread. Like, I mean, I've mixed the two together, but like, you know, if you just take it and put it in like a food processor and you get like the little chunkies of peanuts in there, it'd be pretty rad. Global trade then introduced peanuts to Europe, then to the Philippines, China, and East Indies, and beyond, beginning in the mid 1500s. In the 1700s, enslaved Africans brought peanuts back to the Americas, and a century later, they were an integral crop in the South. During the Civil War, Confederate troops were given peanut rations. It marked the first time the military created spikes in peanut consumption, though it wouldn't be the last. And then it becomes peanut butter. Contrary to popular belief, peanut butter was not invented by Dr. George Washington Carver, but he is credited with advancing the peanut crop in the South in the early 1900s and published his 300 uses for peanuts, which included a peanut paste. He made all kind of shit. We talked about him long time ago in our peanut episode. Go find that. I mean, he was at the, he was making up all kind of things. He won a lot of people over with his inventions to do with peanuts. Even one was like a peanut butter oil massage or something, if I'm remembering correctly, that FDR used on his legs as a treatment to polio. So there was a lot going on, but he didn't make peanut butter. So the forerunner of the peanut butter we know today was first brought to light sometime in the early 1880s when a St. Louis physician, Dr. Ambrose Straub, made a peanut paste for geriatric patients who had trouble swallowing or had bad teeth. Also around that same time, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, same guy from the cereal, was the first to patent a process for manufacturing peanut butter. Peanut butter was first introduced at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. In 1904, Dr. Straub got a food company to develop the peanut spread, and they took it to the St. Louis World Fair, where it became so popular, grocery stores began ordering it. Around the same time, peanut butter appeared in upscale tea rooms in New York City and was considered a delicacy. On the menu of Vanity Fair tea room was peanut butter with watercress. Other tea rooms featured peanut butter and pimento sandwiches and peanut butter on toast triangles with soda crackers. It's really funny to read about this because, originally peanut butter was considered like a savory thing. It was not, no one thought to really pair it with. Their first inclination wasn't to pair it with something sweet, although we'll talk about basically the first peanut butter jelly sandwich that comes pretty close after its introduction in the World's Fair at Chicago in 1893. But I've never had it with watercress. Peanut butter and pimento sounds interesting, although I would kind of want that fried, I think, just to melt the cheese. I'm weird with pimento sometimes, like, maybe they're thinking pimento, the pepper. Yeah, that's probably it. So peanut butter and pepper. Oh, that sounds pretty good. You mix, when you do like certain noodle sauces and stuff, mixing peanut butter with like chilies and stuff is really good. So mixing with pimento would be interesting. But also, did I just come up with a sandwich of peanut butter and pimento cheese sandwich? It's got to be fried though. You can call it the Rude sandwich, the Rude PB&J. That wouldn't be a PB&P C? PB&PC? We'll work on it. We'll workshop it. Don't worry about it, you guys. In 1901, the first peanut butter and jelly sandwich recipe appeared in the Boston Cooking School magazine of Culinary Science and Domestic Economics, written by Julia Davis Chandler. She said to use currant or crab apple jelly and called the combination delicious and, as far as she knew, original, and she was right. Still, the peanut butter and jelly sandwich was an exclusive food, and its popularity among the masses was yet to come. As grapelade and its pre-sliced bread became popular, grapelade. Another breakthrough happened with peanut butter. Commercial brands found a way to create creamier peanut butter that didn't stick to the roof of the mouth so easily. And during the Great Depression of the 1930s, families discovered peanut butter to provide a satisfying, high-protein, and less expensive meal. But the major event that took peanut butter and jelly sandwiches over the top was World War II. Peanut butter and jelly were on the U.S. military rations menu in World War II. Peanut butter was a high-protein, shelf-stable ingredient and easily portable on long marches. Grapelade had already accompanied soldiers in the First World War and added a sweetness to the sandwich. With pre-sliced bread so easy to use, the natural inclination was to combine these three items, and before long, the good old PB&J was part of the American soldier's life. When soldiers came home from the war, PB&J sales soared. Peanut butter, jelly, bread sales soared. Kids loved it because it tastes great. Parents loved it because it was easy to make and how kids could make it themselves with the pre-sliced bread when they weren't around. And many families and college students on a budget relied on PB&J. I was one when I was young. So the story of PB&J is a story of three essential ingredients, and it's pretty interesting how like things find themselves. Like it's easy to see the bread part, because sandwiches are ubiquitous now. Back in the day, they were kind of a fancy thing, just like high tea sandwiches. Once the bread became, because again, the bread that was starting to be made as sandwich bread it was a little soft for people originally, and they didn't think it was as hearty. So it kind of was like a fancy bread. And it was a little bit more expensive because it was pre-sliced. So, Pullman bread, the long rectangular loaf as we think of it, was pretty revolutionary. But so was peanut butter, and so was grapelade. Which we now know is just jelly. It'd be fun. I don't think nobody's making goddamn grapelade anymore. It's all called jelly. But however you like it, you should make yourself one. I'm definitely making one tomorrow for lunch. Just thinking about it gets your mouth like, oh shit, that sounds really good. I don't think I've ever had a fancy like PB&J where it's on really like I made a loaf of sourdough bread and cut it myself, and I don't know how good that. I mean, I'm sure it would be amazing. What am I talking about? I don't do fried peanut butter and jelly bread sandwiches, that much. I've done it a couple times. You got to be in the mood for it. Hot jelly's a thing. Kind of. It's a little weird. But all right, let's get into some trivia for some fun facts. So, a while back 10 years ago, there was a restaurant chain called Which Wich, WHICH, WICH. They made 39,303 PB&Js in 1 hour to break the world's record. I think they've probably been trying to break it since. They probably have. It's been 10 years. As I said before, yesterday, April 2nd, is the PB and Jelly Day. This is funny because this list I got from the National Peanut Board. So it's really funny because, some of the okay, maybe the first one's a little outdated. April 2nd is Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. This is where they throw shade at people, which is really funny. It's like 90% dash how much less a PB&J costs than a sandwich made with almond butter. like, fuck almond butter. PB&J, bitch. Super inexpensive. Yeah, I like how they're just like, by the way, we're going to save you money, baby. And it's funny because if this was, I mean, almond butter had its day, and now I think almond butter is kind of really gone, kind of like it's ebbed and flowed. You know, it's very much ebbed recently, I think, especially almond milk, because people realize how much water it took to make almond milk. I like almond butter. You know, I like PB&J. I like peanut butter better. Peanut butter and whole wheat bread makes a PB&J a complete protein for vegetarians. PB&J can go beyond the sandwich. You can do a PB&J smoothie bowl, PB&J French toast, PB&J muffins, PB&J quinoa cookies, which that doesn't sound bad. There is a book that I own about baking bread, and it's called My Bread. And there is a recipe in there for like a loaf of bread that has jelly and peanuts swirled into the dough, and then it's topped with peanuts and it's baked. It was really good. But don't expect it to be like, oh, I just got to slice it and it's like PB. I mean, it definitely tastes like a peanut butter and jelly, but it's very slight. I would add a little bit more J next time. But it was good. It was just a fun bread day. You know what I'm saying? Some days you just need those. Speaking of how much water almonds take up, PB&Js are good for the planet. It takes fewer than 3.2 gallons of fresh water to produce 1 ounce of peanuts, and peanuts add beneficial nutrients to the soil. Again, looking at you, almonds, go fuck yourself. And finally, 94% of Americans have at least one jar of peanut butter at the home. So, you know, any kind of PB and something is at hand at any time. And this time we're talking about peanut butter and jelly. All right. I will talk to you guys later. But before that, in tribute to the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I have a friend who I grew up with. His name was Ricky Wyckoff. He was amazing. He was one of the funniest people I ever met. When we were kids, he would sing this song. It would make us all laugh. I think he made it up because I can't find it anywhere. But it goes, peanut butter and jelly, that's what I want in my belly. Share it with Norman and Kelly. Peanut butter and peanut butter and peanut butter and me. See you guys. So thank you for listening to the Rude Cooking School podcast. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. If you want to join us on the interwebs, you can find us at Facebook. Just look up Rude Cooking School. You can join us and have a blast sharing memes and being silly and asking questions and looking at other people's recipes and being jealous. But then they'll give you the recipe and you'll be happy about it. We're also on Blue Sky. I'm at Rude, Rouxde, and also at Rude Podcast. Find us over there. I post more there than I do. I post more on the Facebook thing, but more than any other of the socials I'm getting off of Instagram and other things. So come and find me at Rude Podcast or at Rude on Blue Sky. If you can, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers, anyone who is into cooking or food or eating or food history or podcasts or just lonely and want to hear an asshole talk to them. Just let them know about the podcast. We really appreciate it. We don't pay for advertising, and word of mouth is how we get around. So, that said, thank you for listening to the Rude Cooking School podcast. I'm John Hauser. Don't yuck my yum. I'll see you next week. And peace.